Our sponsors for this episode are Gambino's Pizza in Newton. Gambino's Pizza in Newton is located at 1029 Washington Road in Cedar Village. They are open 7 days a week, 10 a.m. to 9 p.m. If you love pizza as much as I do, you know that you always have time and room for pizza. Not only can you dine in or carry out, but they have a huge menu of items to pick from, including wings, pizzas, salad bar, and not only that, but they have the only pizza buffet in Newton. If you're looking for a family-friendly environment or just need to stop in for a quick lunch over the noon hour, Gambino's has got you covered. Visit Gambino's Pizza in Newton at 1029 Washington Road in Cedar Village, or give them a call at 316-866-1778. That's 316-866-1778 to order out or ask questions. You can even order online. Look them up on Facebook, give them a like, follow, and a share. Gambino's Pizza in Newton. Carlos's Kitchen and Cater. Carlos's Kitchen and Cater, located at 114 South Kansas Avenue in Newton, is one of Newton's best kept secrets. Or maybe you know about them and have already stopped in or carried out some of the most delicious Mexican food in our region. If you're just hearing about them, you need to give them a try. If you're a repeat customer, you'll already know why. Give Carlos's Kitchen and Cater a call at 316-804-0158. That's 316-804-0158. Or you can stop into 114, that's 114 South Kansas Avenue. Make sure to look them up on Facebook, give them a like, follow, and share. And don't forget, folks, tell your friends. Carlos's Kitchen and Cater. The Newton Kansan is Newton's longest-running local newspaper, covering all the stories, people, places, and things happening in our community. Chad Fry, the Kansan guy, editor of the Kansan, works diligently to ensure integrity, accuracy, and unbiased news is delivered to your doorstep 3 times a week for an unbeatable price. You can also sign up for online-only access for around $7 a month. That's 12 online papers a month for only $7. If you've not subscribed, it's time you do. Visit them in their office at 517 North Main Street. That's 517 North Main Street in Newton. Online at thekansan.com. That's thekansan.com. Or give them a call at 316-283-1500. That's 316-283-1500. Support local journalism, support the Kansan. Well, hello, everybody, and hello, Chad. How you doing today, Chad?
I'm okay. Good. I'm starting to recover from my extreme fatigue that I was feeling day after day after day after day after day after day. I still feel it, but I'm just starting to recover a little bit and starting to feel a little bit better. And I think, if you go back and watch last week's podcast, you can see it. Yeah. I could absolutely see.
Chad's looking at himself going, man, that guy looks tired.
Yeah, he looks washed, man. What's going on?
Well, come on, dude. You just lost your dad. I'm sure there's a grieving process that takes place there. And you got things going on in your personal life. Understood, right? And then on top of that, you still got to maintain. You still got all the same priorities you had. You can't just lay down and curl up in a ball. And I wonder, let's just start with that. How many people listening right now, and I just want you to think to yourself, have had similar experiences where something happens in your life that just totally derails you? It just totally derails you, whether it's a death in the family, whether it's experiencing something that's going on with your children that you just can't believe happened, and then there's a long, arduous process that's got to happen, or the loss of a job. In today's economy, things just keep getting more expensive, and there's not really more money to nobody's saying, here, we're gonna give you a $3 an hour raise.
And
that
jobs
way
are going away right now.
And jobs are going away. In fact, interestingly enough, I was thinking the other day when somebody had posted something to social media about looking for employment, it's like, well, it's not really that hard to find unemployment. But the truth of the matter is over the last year, it has become increasingly difficult to find employment. And not only that, if the threshold is just employment, that's one thing, versus what I would consider gainfully employed. Obviously, with the projected to make more money over time,
Yeah,
and to be able to pay your bills.
You can go down to just about any fast food restaurant and apply and probably get hired pretty quickly.
Maybe.
And but if you need to earn and support yourself, forget it.
What do you think a livable wage is right now? We could look it up and bring it up, but I'm gonna.
I don't honestly. I don't know. I saw somebody on social make a comment the other day that in today's economy, $80,000 is living paycheck to paycheck, and you know what? I think they're right. And it sounds crazy, but man, the health insurance has gone through the roof. Yeah. Automotive insurance has gone through the roof. Your homeowner's insurance and renter's insurance has gone through the roof. Your rent or your mortgage has gone through the roof.
Taxes keep going up. Valuations keep going up.
Taxes have continued to go up. Food has gone up. All due respects to our current administration, gas is not cheap.
Yeah. Well, it's not the 99 cents a gallon that I remember paying when I was 18 years old. And that'll date me, won't it?
And you know what? Take it from somebody who watches gas prices really closely, because I consider my delivery thing, I consider that a business, a small business. I'm an independent contractor, so I consider it a small business. My number one expense for that small business, gasoline. And I'm telling you, it is more expensive, and it's getting more expensive all the time. And we are our rise in price hasn't just been straight. It's we've seen the jags, but we've been going up.
Yeah.
And wow. So in that environment, for me to throw out what a livable wage is, if you'd have asked me that question, say 5 years ago, I would have said for a livable wage for a single person in Newton, Kansas, was probably around $15 an hour.
Yeah.
That would allow them to live.
Yeah.
Not much else. Well, that's 5 years ago.
Well, and I got to say, I'm thinking you're correct on the 80. I mean, at first when you said that, right, and I started thinking, well, that seems like a lot, but then you factor in how much are taxes, right? So if you're at $80,000 and you've got, a deduction, so the question, I guess, the better question would be, okay, dollar an hour, right? Dollar an hour. How much does a person need to net in order to have a livable wage or be what's considered sustainable? And when we talk about livable wage, we're not talking about going out and doing things, right, Chad? I mean, we're talking about making all your bills, being able to go get groceries, and still being able to maintain. I mean, I'm gonna say a person in Newton, Kansas, Harvey County, America here, that an individual needs to make at least $29 an hour, net $29 an hour. That means potentially that a person would have to make $35 to $36 an hour or more in order to net the $27 an hour or the $28 an hour that would it take just to pay the average rent, pay the average electric, pay the average gas, your water, sewer, trash, your insurance, even if it's a single person,
it's going to be at least 20 to 25. I think it's probably closer to 30. And that sounds like a lot of money. And you know what? It really is.
Just a net.
But I mean, you got a utility bill that has never done anything but go up.
Nothing
and never
ever does
will.
Anything but
and
go
nothing
up,
and it never will do anything but that.
Yeah. Yeah. And at what point in time have we ever in our lives, any of our lives, somebody come along and said, "Hey, by the way, your bill that you have to pay, i.e. electric, gas, I mean, it's going down.
Lance,
it's going down."
Go back in your head 5 years time. Go back 5 years ago. How would Lance of 5 years ago react to me saying, I just bought ground beef at a big box retail club for just over $5 a pound, and I feel like I got a steal? Yeah, you're shaking your head.
I'm thinking it was probably $2.50, $2.75.
Right. Ground, and that's a beautiful example of what's been going on. And
bag of cheese, man.
And you know,
bag
we
of
had
cheese.
Gallon
of milk.
Specifically with beef, we've had a number of factors that have hit us over time. You know, we had drought, and during drought, producers were reducing their herds because they couldn't afford to.
Yep.
They couldn't afford to produce, so they reduced their herds. And then what happens? Well, now we've got rarity and scarcity built into a supply and demand market.
Yeah.
So it's so much deeper than just this guy's economic policy and that guy's economic policy. And it's always been much deeper than this guy's economic policy versus that guy's economic policy, because those policies do not happen in a vacuum.
Well, and then think about this, Chad. This is something that I always think, you know, both sides of the coin. And I'm actually grateful that we live in a country where we can go down to the grocery store and we can theoretically, right, depending upon your finances, buy some beef, buy some packaged pork, buy some packaged chicken, whatever the case may be, to feed our families. And there are many places across the globe that don't have that luxury. I mean, that would be a luxury. But at the same time, it's almost like something just came to mind to me.
Sure.
My kids, okay? I have this saying with my kids, all of my kids. You get what you get and you don't throw a fit. Are we really at that place in our country at this point in time?
What? Get what you get and don't throw a fit?
Be thankful that you can go into the grocery store, Chad, and you can buy a pound of hamburger.
Be thankful. Well,
even if it is $7 a pound, if that's what it winds up being over the next couple of years. I mean,
it's already there, Lance.
Well, yeah. Truth be told, depending upon what you buy.
Chicken quarters. I used to buy 10-pound bags of chicken quarters for $6. Good luck. Think about that.
Can you imagine being in an age bracket?
They're still double that.
And we're not very far apart in age, right? I don't know. Maybe there's a decade between us, maybe a little more, something like that.
Oh, I'm just freaking old. But
well, I'm thinking where are you a Gen Xer? What are you, Chad?
Yes, I'm in Gen X. My birthday or my age starts with a 5.
Okay, so I would be considered a Zennial, I think. Right, we're the one group of people that are on the cusp of millennials and Gen Z. I think they call them Zennials, right? So okay, it's kind of interesting psychology behind it, but we lived in a time that was similar to each other. Things had not changed so much from the time that I was born to the time you were born. So we were living in a world in which gas was 99 cents a gallon, that jobs were available pretty much readily. I remember always being able to find a job no matter what. It wasn't an issue. People, you know, there was still people struggling, but I don't think at the level that we are now because of the way that everything is increased through inflation versus wages going up. I think that just continues to do this number, right? As opposed to when it would do this. You know, we've been
in a pattern where wages have not kept up with inflation for almost my entire lifetime.
Now, who fixes this problem, Chad?
Who fixes the problem?
I mean, do we want?
No idea.
Does it come back to people? The almighty government is our savior. It's the government that needs to save us.
Part of what needs to happen is we need a cultural shift among our manufacturers and among our producers. They need to remember the words of Henry Ford. Now, Henry Ford was a jerk. Okay, we now know that. But he had a philosophy in that he didn't feel it was smart to build a car that the guys who were building it for him couldn't afford. But we've completely walked away from that idea. Completely and totally walked away from that idea. It makes absolutely no sense to produce something that the people that you employ can't afford. Why? Because you are going to limit your sales just based on affordability alone. Almost 100 G's for an F-150 now? Come on.
I know, that's incredible.
Do you want a house or do you want a car?
Well, and even then, if you talk about home ownership, we talked a while back on the program, I had mentioned where basically home ownership is something of the past. I mean, yes, people can still save money. They've tried to make it to where, once again, people can go out here with a somewhat limited down payment, but your average home price is like $240 to $270.
Right, that's where the problem lies.
Well, and then you add on top of that a $100,000 vehicle or a $60,000 to $100,000 vehicle. Then on top of that, if you're somebody that wants to go buy a used vehicle, well, used vehicles, but going back to the supply and demand again. So our economy, I mean, I hate to say it, is not great. Granted, it's difficult because, once again, you look at both sides of the coin, and I would much rather be in this country living here, because I believe it's still a country that has the best opportunity for upward mobility. I believe that we do have some of the best educational system on the globe. I mean, and that's arguable, right? Because somebody could come in and argue that.
You can go and look at all the indicators and say we're nowhere close. You know what? You know where else you can do that? You can do that in healthcare. Go and look at all the indicators, and we're nowhere close to the best in the world.
Average life expectancy keeps going down. We know that little bit by little bit.
We sit there every time any debate comes up about healthcare. That's the talking point we hear. We talk from the people who want no change. All we hear is, well, we have the best healthcare in the world. We have the best healthcare in the world. Prove it. Let's go take a look at all of those rankings. Let's find out. Look, life expectancy after a diagnosis of cancer, life expectancy after a diagnosis of ALS, life expectancy, birth rates.
I saw a statistic.
All of it.
Yeah.
All of it.
Statistic.
Go find me someplace where we're actually ranked number one in the world. Good luck. You're going to be looking for a needle in a haystack.
It is okay. So then going back to this, because we got into this conversation right unexpectedly,
how
totally
did we get
organic.
here anyway?
But okay. But I think I truly believe that the majority of people are having these discussions, right? If it's not amongst their close family, when they go to work, they're having this conversation. I find it hard to believe that the majority of people are not feeling the pinch, that they're not.
They are. And you know what? We're going to have people feeling more and more and more. And we as a nation simply have never wanted to collectively truly deal with the single biggest economic problem we have. And that's it's very hard for me because I want to be precise with my language. That's the cost of access to healthcare. We refuse to deal with this. And we just constantly refuse to deal with it. And this affects every person in our nation. Every single one. And people are being driven into debt and bankruptcy over healthcare cost. And for years and years and years, the answer to when I make a statement like that, it's like, well, do you have health insurance? Yeah. Most people do. A lot of people do. Health insurance isn't our answer. It never was. And the deregulation of some specific types of health insurance in the Reagan era is created a huge mess that we refuse to look at and deal with. So, you know, when we look at when I look at our economy nationally, we talked about all these costs that have been going up and everything that's been going up. The most astronomical increases have been in access to healthcare. Now, I want you to understand, I'm not talking about what it is Newton Medical Center is billing you. Yeah, those are going up. There's a reason they've been going up. Okay? And if you dig down and you go down the rabbit hole, everything points back to the health insurance companies. They have created a monster. And they are more than happy to just keep taking our money hand over and fist and returning it to their shareholders, who they're really responsible to. They're not responsible to you, Lance. They're not responsible to me. Yeah, I pay the bill.
If you can.
If I can. I pay the premium. But at the end of the day, their job is to make money, and their job is to make money for their shareholders.
Let me take drug companies. I just recently read something about we'll just call it the Trump administration. Probably within the last month, I do believe. Maybe it was a little bit less. No, yeah, it was last month, so maybe even the last couple of weeks. Don't fact check me if you want, but there's a lot that comes to us right every day. Every day it just keeps coming in waves. So to pick out when I read what I read, but it was interesting because for the first time. Well, I'm going to say the first time, but there was a deal that was struck between the Trump administration, if you want to call it that, and Pfizer. And it was that they would agree to offer medicines for no more than what to United States citizens, to the U.S., for no more than they would another country as well. So, for instance, if I was Pfizer and I was selling a diabetic pill. I'm just throwing this out here. Diabetic pill to Chad because he's got diabetes and he has to have that to regulate his insulin, whatever the case may be. Okay. Or the way your system breaks down things okay. So just because I'm not a doctor. But anyway, what they were doing is they might be selling it to the U.S. market for $100 a pill, but then go over and strike a better deal with, let's
Canada,
say,
for example.
Canada for $25 a pill.
Yeah, that's why a lot of people were ordering their drugs from Canada the last 20 years.
Do you think that the majority of the issue that we faced is because of government regulation?
No, I don't. I have to be straight. I don't.
How about lack of government regulation?
No, I think, well, it depends on the situation.
So it's very subjective, is it not?
Yes, it is. We've got sectors of our economy that are overregulated. We flat out do. We have sectors of our economy that are overregulated. We have sectors of our economy that we have systematically allowed more control for corporation. And health insurance is a beautiful example. Everybody's whipping boy of the 1980s, 1990s was the HMOs. That's what Reagan deregulated. And the cost to access to care through an HMO has absolutely gone completely batshit crazy. Why? Because when they started, they were required to be nonprofit organizations. And now they're not.
Speaking of this.
So there you go.
Speaking of this, okay?
I'm not an anti-government regulation guy, but I also will freely admit there's areas of our economy that are overregulated.
But then how do we...
And I think you're wanting to segue into one of those because we talked about it before.
Yeah. Okay, so before we go any farther, because we did get way in the weeds here, and we do have a topic that we want to talk about as far as what the Trump administration is doing with the National Guard. That's one thing that we're going to talk about in the end. But because that really seems to be making a lot of headlines, a lot of news, what ICE is doing right now, whether you're for it or against it, the handling of it, the rolling out of it, etc. But yeah, let's go here. Okay, so I want to know what's happening locally. I saw an article that was in the Kansan. I thought it was very enlightening. It really made me think. It's one of those things that you don't. I mean, we drive by it every day, right? And as a consumer, maybe we choose to consume those products, but there is a fine balance between large corporations and what they offer the public and what they can offer the public their services at a certain or goods at a certain rate versus your small mom and pop shops. Just talking to somebody the other day, big box store, everybody knows, came in everywhere across the United States, and the end result for that, no names here, okay, but was that it weeded out all of these small mom and pop businesses because they just couldn't compete with this large corporation.
On price, specifically.
On price.
Yes.
Now that it has come to fruition that there's not the same type of competition, and there's not really an opportunity for there to be competition in that market. Well, now we're all beholden to it, are we not?
Sure.
So, fast food. The thing that
yeah.
you pointed out in the Kansan was about fast food, and I think it was titled, is Newton, maybe it was Harvey County, but I think
Newton,
it was specifically Newton.
a food swamp.
A food swamp. Just give a quick rundown on that, Chad, because, I mean, I don't want to steal your thunder on that, but
let me tell you why.
It was a good article.
Let me explain why I did the story. And why I thought it was important. And straight up, I pursued that at a level that I'm putting that on the short list of possible contest entries at the end of this year. The reason I decided to pursue the story is I got an email. I got an email from somebody who did a study, and they were trying to determine what states were the best for fast food. And their definition was best for fast food lovers, meaning that there's a lot of access to fast food. And they had, I believe, 20 specific restaurant chains that they evaluated states for. And when they did their numbers, they found out that Kansas was third in the nation, with 47.1 fast food restaurants from that list, 47.1 per 100,000 people. Which, third in the nation, that means it's high.
Yeah.
Right? Relatively speaking.
Yeah, we can get some of the best fast food around, can't we?
So I was just like, I wonder what Harvey County looks like. I wonder what Newton looks like. And I just sat down, I did the numbers. And Harvey County came in the 50s. So higher than the state average. Right? And I was like, huh. And then Newton came in the high 80s. And alarm bells started going off. I mean, it was just like, holy moly. And then as I was looking at that, I was like, and here's some restaurants that are fast food restaurants in Newton. No, pardon me. Not on their list. So if you really wanted to talk about what our number is of fast food restaurants per 100,000 people, it's even higher. And so I just kind of was like, you got to be kidding me. That's just nuts. And then I started thinking about the nearly 2 years that I've been doing food delivery. And I started thinking about all those deliveries that I'm doing and the habits that I have formed, which were on the advice and of who I would say is the top food delivery person in our county. Just from an hours worked and number of deliveries done perspective, he's the GOAT. And I asked him a couple of questions. I asked him if he's getting tired of delivering fast food. And like the rest of us, he is. I asked him if, to give me a percentage of how much of it is we're doing, how much he's doing out of restaurants that were on that list of 20. And he said probably 65%. I really think it's higher. And then you've got to start asking your questions of why. And And as I put it to a local restaurateur, I don't understand me walking into Taco Bell and standing there for upwards of 45 minutes to wait on a 3 taco meal and then drive it someplace in town, when from a quality of food perspective, there are much better options here in town, and they're locally owned.
Do you think it comes down to price?
That is exactly what the restaurateur told me. That for specifically in the area of delivery, it's that my parent company that I contract with, they charge a percentage to the restaurant. Well, the restaurant's going to make that up. And I don't care what restaurant we're talking on the list. Taco Bell, McDonald's, Arby's, Wendy's, Acapulco, Katrina's, Papa John's, Back Alley. These are all restaurants in our courtesies, all restaurants in the list. Every one of those restaurants is charged a percentage. And then they're going to make that up. So when they do their pricing that they turn into DoorDash, their prices are increased. Okay? So great example is that you can right now, because there's a special going on, you can walk into McDonald's and get a Big Mac meal for $8, but you can't order that for $8 for delivery. Okay, the initial price from McDonald's is higher, and then you probably have a delivery fee on top of it. Well, our mom and pops can't produce food as cheaply as these chain fast food restaurants.
Okay, do you think it has to do with quantity of purchasing power? Like if you're I guess I asked the question, why not?
You're sitting at home and you're going to order some food.
How much does it cost? Okay. So if I go to the grocery store, okay,
Sure.
and I buy all the ingredients that it would take to make a hamburger, along with all the ingredients it would take to cut up a potato and have some homemade French fries, okay, I might be looking at about $5 to $6.
It's more than that now because the price of ground beef is.
But like, say you get a 5 pound Chubba hamburger, right? And then you take 1 pound, or let's just say you take a quarter pound, right? Or a quarter pound.
A quarter pound of hamburger right now, the best price you're going to get on a quarter pound is around $1.
Okay, so that's $1.
Or $1.25, more like $1.25.
So by the time
what do you want on your burger list?
That's what I'm saying.
I think the better place to go here is pizza.
Pizza.
Okay? The better place to go here is pizza. If you make your own crust, that means you're buying flour, and you're going to be using that flour for multiple things. But you make your own crust. You get the cheapest pizza sauce available if you're not making your own like I do. You're going to grab about a 2-cup bag of shredded cheese, and then what are you putting on? Let's say pepperoni, just a standard pepperoni and mushroom, right? The standard pepperoni and mushroom that you can get for about $11-12 when you walk in to Back Alley Pizza, right? Of course, that same pizza over at Papa John's or at Pizza Hut now is 12 or 13, because Back Alley is kind of an outlier. They're able to produce that single pizza for cheaper. The trick is that when you're walking into Papa John's or whatever, their personal pizza is about half the size, and it's $6 or $7. Their small pizza is bigger, so it's going to serve more people. 12, 13, 14. Okay. But from an ingredients perspective, if you're willing to put the time in your own kitchen, you can produce that thing for less than $5. Pizza is can be an incredibly high profit food because it can be very inexpensive to produce. And you can go down that same road with burgers as well, but there's just a ridiculous number of variables. What are you putting on it? Burger Garage is very, very competitive in its pricing. But your meal at Burger Garage can go up above 10, 12, 13 bucks really fast if you're adding in onion rings and a soda, and it can go up really, really quick. It's just the reality that. So when you're sitting at home and you're, if you're like, forgive me, if you're like my wife and it's 5:15 and you're like, what are we doing for supper? What, you didn't have a plan? We've got a whole freezer full of food down in the basement and we haven't thought anything out. I haven't thought anything out. Nothing's, what are we going to do? If that's you, and you think you're going to go do delivery, how are you going to make your decision of what you're ordering? And I believe that 90% of that decision is on price.
Yeah. Well, and then not only that, but the initial thing is convenience, right?
Right, and you are going to pay for convenience.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's if you use a couple of coupons and walk into Subway, it's a heck of a lot cheaper than paying me to drive it to your house.
Yeah.
And it's always going to be that way. So you're going to pay for convenience.
Well, and even then, it would be less expensive to go make your Subway sandwich yourself.
Right, but that's why I wrote the story. I wanted to know. I thought, what are the factors, and then what's the effect on our community? We just talked about one of the economic effects, right? Because if you're spending more there, you have less to spend somewhere else. So there's that's your economic effect. What about the effect on our health? What about the effect on local business, other local business?
Yeah.
Because when you're walking in or ordering delivery from, and I'm going to sound like I'm beating up on one specific restaurant, but if you're ordering from Taco Bell, there's not money going to Acapulco. Does Taco Bell employ people in this community? You bet. No question about it.
Do they pay taxes?
Lots of minimum wage guys are working in Taco Bell, McDonald's, Arby's, Wendy's. Name a restaurant. You got minimum wage earners in there. Yeah. But I'm pretty sure that a waitress over at Curtis C's is out earning all of those kids. And all of those, and some full-fledged adults. All those people working. Aside from the managers. I'm pretty sure that they're out earning. Okay? They wouldn't still be doing it if they weren't. So I wanted to know, and then the other thing that I think is important, we're in a growth mode here in town, in Newton. We're in a growth mode. And one of those things that I think we need to keep an eye on is restaurants. And, right now, we've got there's some opportunity for growth right out that interstate corridor. There's some opportunity for growth. There's 3 vacant restaurants right out there, right off the exits. 3 vacants. So there's opportunity for growth. Does the prevalence of fast food restaurants in this town, does that make it harder to bring somebody into those 3 places? Granted, that is a question that cannot be answered in a vacuum.
Yeah.
Because all 3 of those places have other issues to deal with other than there's a KFC on the corner. Okay? But that's why I wrote it. And the To answer the question of the headline, yes, Newton is a food swamp. Got a health expert to basically say Newton sound if we're talking food swamps, Newton sounds like the Everglades. And it's just purely on just the number of restaurants we have per 100,000 people.
And I got to say this. My own personal life, I try to stay away from fast food establishments, not because I don't want to support them or anything like that. It just has to do more with my health, right?
Right.
I've done enough research to know that if it's not something I should be eating every day,
Right.
Period. Okay. So then I selectively would rather bypass a fast food restaurant twice to go to an establishment once, right? So if I'm thinking my average cost here is $15, I go twice, that's $30. I go once over here, it's $30. Would much rather pay for quality and what I'm consuming, the one over the two. So, okay, because we're going to have to speed up some of what we're talking about here, Chad. What else is coming up in the Kansan that you're planning on writing about? What were some of the government meetings like that you attended? It was a short week this week.
It was a short week because we had, because the month started on a Wednesday. So that means that this last Monday and Tuesday were actually the first Monday and Tuesday of the month rather than the second. So that means Board of Education and the city kind of, their regular business meetings didn't occur.
Got a layover.
Yeah, we got a layover. There is some city meetings for the new strategic plan. Community meetings. I believe those are I think one of them's today. But with things like parent-teacher conferences and other stuff for my kids, I'm not sure I'm going to go to any of those. So really the only meeting we had was county commission for governmental meetings. I think there's like a planning and zoning meeting, but I don't go to those very often. I take a look at the agendas, and if I spot something, then I do. But we had a county commission meeting. That was yesterday. Not a ton of action yesterday, but your highlights would be they talked about the new floodplain maps that are being created. We're into year 6 or 7 of that process, and there's a year or 2 left of that process. But there's a window now for local governments to do some commenting on those new floodplain maps. And, this is a classic case of one of those things that it's important, but people don't understand why. And it's important because it's going to affect your flood insurance.
Oh, if you need it, yeah.
Yeah, whether or not you need to have it and how much it's going to cost.
Yeah.
And the floodplains do change over time. So I'm going to write a little bit about that because trying to help people understand how they change and why they changed. And the floodplains in Harvey County changed very dramatically many years ago when they built the Sand Creek watershed system, levee system.
Yeah, I was going to say, man-made, right? It just goes back to like Wichita, the Big Ditch. They used to have an extremely difficult time when there was a lot of rainfall, and then somebody devised a plan.
Yep.
Said, hey, let's build a big ditch.
Yep.
So running down the middle of Wichita, more or less, and divert all of our water into this. And with the volume of water that we're going to see or expect, as long as we can shed this off into here, then that changes everything. Takes, like you said, 10 years or so. Sand Creek, just Sand Creek down the middle of Newton is a great example where Newton used to have flooding issues because of the creek. Now it's a place for all the water to go.
Well,
that's all of our systems feed into that.
And the watershed had a lot to do. I mean, one of the primary
after that. Yeah.
One of the primary reasons the watershed was created was to prevent flooding in Newton. And that's not my words. That's the words of Vern, who helped found the thing and gave me a tour of the thing. Man, it was fun driving across some of those dams. I didn't lot of people don't even know where they are.
Yeah.
They just don't. And, people don't understand. East Lake is flood control. That's what it's for. It wasn't built so that we could all have a place to go hunting, fishing, and camping. It was built as flood control.
Right? Which also explains that in times of drought, it really has a difficult time staying full. And then obviously in times of excessive rain, well, it's very full. Right?
Yeah.
Right. Okay. So anything else that is picking your brain, or just picking your brain real quick about that before we move on to the last topic, the national topic that we want to talk about?
I haven't decided if I'm going to take up the latest drama with the county treasurer's office or not. But during the public comment section, there were some accusations made of activities of our future treasurer that occurred in, I believe, April. And that, nothing ever came of it. And the reasons that nothing ever came of it, there were accusations made there too. And so I haven't really decided if I'm going to do much with that. I'm going to send some emails out to some people today.
The drama, the saga continues.
I am in complete and total agreement. So here's where I'm going to make an opinion statement on local news. I am complete and total agreement with our current commission chair, Don Schrader, who said openly, publicly, and in session that the drama with our treasurer's department needs to end from every direction. It just needs to be over.
Do we live in a...
And our new treasurer will be sworn in next week. So hopefully, we can put all this junk behind us leave it there.
That karma has a way of coming right back to you. I tell you that. What goes around comes around. And this is the thing. Okay, there's two things, right? We may not get to the thing we wanted to talk about. I have to wait for Andy to get here next week.
And
to talk
that might be a good thing,
because I'm sure he has a good opinion on that. Because there's one other thing I want to cover too. It's more a local, state, national, the way we look at things. But I'll tell you. It's truly detestable, and it's this throw out accusations. They don't have to be founded. They don't have to anything. We just have to paint this person with the darkest, deepest, dirtiest brush we possibly can. And 9 times out of 10, people don't even know what the hell they're talking about. The end justifies the means. As long as I can sit here and throw shade on this person and lie about this person and whisper about this person and tell we're coming up on election time, so of course we're seeing a lot of it, right? It goes back to the fact that
election time. Yeah, by the way, there are some local candidates for both City of Newton and Board of Education,
Andy,
that need to respond to me when I sent out requests for information on September 19th. So I need to get those things back, because the election is right around the corner. It's just a couple weeks away, actually.
Yeah. It's coming up fast.
Yeah.
And there's a ballot issue in Halstead too,
there is a ballot issue in Halstead.
I mean, I got to tell you, I just okay, 2 topics we're going to talk about next week, folks. One is upcoming elections, and once again, the way that people conduct themselves, the psychology behind that. So don't let me forget about that, because a lot of my study, my political science degree is a field study. So it had a lot to do with why people do what they do, why they vote the way they vote, what are effective campaign strategies. And the sum total of that is you just got to make the next person look worse. That's all you got to do. It's not about voting for me. It's about voting against them. That's That's what we've deduced ourselves
We've
down.
seen a lot of campaigns that are based on, well, I'm not them.
Yes, and then
I'm
only
not
that,
them.
but if it's not done publicly, it is done in a whisper
And
campaign.
I'm tired of that.
Yes, it's done in a whisper campaign.
I want to hear your policy decisions. That's what I want to
Yeah,
hear.
and then what you have is you have people that are completely center focused. I don't want to call them selfish, but just center focused. Ego is a crafty deceiver, and it's like when people go out on social media. I saw a post here, and it's just like, can we just keep politics off this page? If you don't like it, just scroll past. Instead of trying to change an entire Facebook page or profile group or whatever it is because you don't like what came across that. Well, there's things that everybody doesn't like that comes across that. Just scroll on. Just scroll on. I get tired of hearing somebody's sob story, right? That I always ask the question, is that what really happened? Or you don't have money to pay your bills. You need help from the community. We have a very generous community. People will go out and they will help. But you go to social media and you say, well, I'm down on my luck and I don't have a job and I need money for X, Y, or Z. And then you see their personal page and they're sitting there talking about how they're on the come up. I don't understand. Don't care. I mean, obviously I kind of would say that, but okay. And then the second thing we're going to talk about is the usage of the National Guard in today's political environment to enforce and or potentially protect other enforcement agencies and everything that's going on. So we're waiting. Andy, when you listen to this, you better bring your guns blazing. Okay. So, and then the last thing that I want to talk about is, we got a few minutes here. All right. Is government responsible for ensuring that you know the law, therefore do not break the law, Chad?
Is government responsible?
Yes.
For making sure you know the law?
Hundreds of laws are passed every year and go into effect.
Is government responsible?
That's what I'm asking. Okay, for instance,
I'm
we'll
going
even go
through
down
here and I'm like, I think he's setting something up.
Yes, I am, because I want to make the case. I could say this: ignorance of the law is no excuse. Right?
It is not.
A good example would be they just recently passed something at the state of Kansas level that says if you see a vehicle on the side of the road with their lights flashing because they're broke down, then you're required to either slow way down if you can't get over into the other lane, or get over in the other lane, similar to what it was like with our first responders before.
Yes, for what it is for
Now,
our police officers.
If I go blowing by that vehicle that's got their flashers on at 80 miles an hour because I got my cruise set and I'm driving down the road, and maybe I'm not even from the state, okay? And an officer sees me do that and they pull me over because I did not get over into the other lane or dramatically slow down in order to ensure the safety, which we would all think would be common sense of the person that's broke down on the side of the road with their flashers on, okay? Then they may not ticket me, but me saying I didn't know that wasn't the law does not mean that I would not be ticketed if the officer so felt the need for me to be ticketed.
Claiming ignorance of the law is not
an plausible
excuse
defense.
or your ticket out. But this particular, I know that you really don't want to talk about this particular law, but this particular law is just quite simply, this was state legislature trying to legislate what is basically common sense and common decency. And quite honestly, creating a law that is really unenforceable. Because is a police officer going to come chasing after me? Or is he going to stop to help the vehicle? This is a binary decision. If he comes chasing after me, he's going to get roasted for not stopping to help the vehicle.
Okay, that was an example.
So,
that was just one example.
Can he radio in my license plate and ask for assistance? Yes, he can. But I'm just like,
Okay, but that's just an example.
So
just an example. Let's not get hung up on the example.
Let's get to what you really want to talk about.
Okay, so another thing, for instance, we hear it all the time. I'm just going to give example after example here. Well, my taxes went up. My taxes went up, Chad. I didn't know they were going to raise my taxes. Okay, the government went through the process, having public meetings, whatever government entity that is. Okay, we'll just cities, school boards, counties, whatever the case may be, right? So then, is it the county's fault that you didn't know your mill levy was going up? Like they didn't have opportunity for you to go up and
they've been notifying you. So,
okay,
I mean seriously, you've been notified over and over and over and over and over again on that one. You've been if you're a property owner, you've received letters to your property telling you this is going to happen.
Now, going step farther, right? That would have been a local one. Let's take legislation that's passed at the state of Kansas level. Okay. There was just legislation that was passed that said that individual who, well, let's say a man and a woman conceive, that child support is now to be collected at the time of conception instead of waiting until the child is born. Now, if you took somebody that didn't know that, that's hearing that for the first time going, what? Okay, then it doesn't mean that you're not responsible for that law, that you have to obey the law. So now, who's responsible for the projection of that information? Because there's hundreds of laws that are passed. I'm sure there were laws passed at the state of Kansas level that I did not think had anything to do with me in any way, shape, or form. And I'm responsible to abide by that law, correct?
Yes, you are.
Okay.
Whether you know it or not.
So then, with hundreds of laws being passed at both the state level and the national level, okay, at a very rapid pace, right? Then who's responsible for ensuring that the public is aware of all of these changes to the law that you are then responsible for?
Here's the problem. There is nothing that can be done to force anybody to pay attention.
But even then, I'll take it another step further,
You can do whatever you want to try and inform them.
The media.
You can do anything you want to try and inform them.
Government entities.
You can do anything you want to try to inform them. There's nothing that's going to force them to be informed. Nothing.
But what's the mechanism, Chad? If I'm asking myself this question,
there is no mechanism that will work.
I'm very involved. I try to keep up on everything, and there's no way to keep up on all of it.
There is no mechanism that can and will work. Sorry.
So are we all not just... how do I say this? All right, audience.
So
how do we prevent ourselves from being criminalized based on the fact that we did not know that we were a criminal or that we were breaking the law based upon something that was passed, that we had no idea was passed? The media didn't cover it. I didn't see the media covering it because I didn't consume information that way. I mean, it's getting to a point, in my opinion, where so many laws are passed at not only the state level, but the national level, that there's no way whatsoever for me as an individual to spend all day long. And then not only that, but the way some of this stuff is written, you'd have to be an attorney to interpret it.
Oh, that's universal. Pretty much.
You see what I'm saying? So then how do we as individuals who want to be law-abiding citizens maintain to be law-abiding citizens if we are unable to, number one, understand it in layman's terms, two, have the access to the information, three, I mean, yeah, of course, everything that the government passes is public knowledge. Now, how many days and hours and weeks do you have to spend there and read whether something affects you or doesn't affect you?
some people don't have much time. But
Still
at the end of
responsible
the
for
day,
it.
so I made the statement, a single wheel vehicle. We've seen these things, right? And they're really not regulated. At some point, they're going to be. Whose responsibility is it to deal with that? You know, if you own one of those things, you need to pay attention. Because at some point, if they turn around and say, well, you have to have a registration, or we're going to, in order to ride it on a public street, you need to have a license. You can do the same thing with golf carts. If you own it and you're the operator, it's your responsibility to know and pay attention when changes are made.
Okay, so then, for instance, we'll use the golf cart.
So if
right?
you end up with a ticket and that's your first exposure, okay, you've now been informed. So are you going to comply at this point?
Well, yeah.
Or are you going to be like that stupid idiot from the Kansas City Chiefs who gets flagged for holding on a kick return and then turns around and does the exact same freaking thing on the next one? Who you going to be?
Okay.
Learn.
So and I believe that our law enforcement has come a long way when it comes to things like that, right? Like there's an attempt, generally speaking, on behalf of law enforcement agencies who are not just trying to run around and criminalize people. If I'm
That's
blowing
right.
down the road and they pull you over and say, hey, you got a license for that, or whatever the case may be, then no, I don't. Well, did you know that, did they just passed a law that said that you need to have a license for that?
Did you know that the speed limit driving through downtown is 20 miles an hour?
It's posted.
Okay. Yeah, it is posted. But did you know that? This is the first time I've pulled you over.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay? This is the first time I've pulled you over. And I know you drive through downtown, nonstop all day, every day. Is there some reason you were going 30? Today I'm going to give you a warning. Next time.
Yeah. And then they got it in their system.
That does happen.
Yeah,
Believe it or not, that does happen.
Yeah.
If you're one of those folks who didn't get that grace, I'm sorry. But it does happen.
And generally speaking, I think there is grace for that. I go back to the fact, yes. But I asked the question to the audience. I asked the question to Chad, right? If you believe that you are a law-abiding citizen, right? Because every day, everything in our life is regulated by government entities. I would like somebody to point out something that's not, right? At some point or another.
And the closer to your front door the government agency is, the more you will interact with them and they will interact with you, and the more the decisions they make affect your life.
So we got our topics for next week, Chad. Our topics for next week are what's going on at the national level with the National Guard, ICE, and municipalities and states. The next one is we're going to talk a little bit about upcoming elections and the psychology behind that and where we find ourselves today. Chad, you got a final word?
Today, final word. Friday night, and I'm going on when these actually get released. Next Friday night will be the final Newton High School football home game. It's been a hard season for those kids. So, if you decide to go, have an uplifting spirit, go to cheer for the kids and only for the kids. And, the same goes for, the season hasn't been quite so hard, but, Chisholm Middle School is going to have their last cross-country event on Tuesday at Centennial Park. Those kids would absolutely love it to be cheered on down the finish line. Soccer has been knocking it out of the park. Their season's going to be coming to an end here pretty soon. My gut says they're going to be very deep into state competition before their season actually does end. But the regular season's coming to a close. That's a universal for all of our fall sports. And
it's amazing it's already that time.
It is. It's nuts. Just pick something and go support those kids that are competing with Newton across their chest. And really cheer for them. Right? I mean, this is my 30-second sportsmanship lecture for the year. Right? Go cheer for our kids. Because some of them really, really need it. You know, I know beyond all shadow of a doubt, we've got some pretty downtrodden athletes right now. Because this season has been hard. It has not been easy. So let's as a community step forward and say, we're going to support you today. And really support you. Scream your fool head off and just make sure that it's for Newton High.
Yeah. I got to say, I've been a black belt in Taekwondo since 2014. Okay? And one thing that I always keep in mind, and even when I was a Taekwondo instructor, I would tell my students, and that is, a loss will teach you exponentially more about yourself than a win ever will.
True, but we've got some kids that have they've learned enough.
Yeah.
Just saying, they've learned enough.
Oh, Chad.
You know.
Oh, Chad. Yes.
So let's
love them up. Love them up.
Let's teach them that we as a community are still proud of them.
Yeah.
We're still proud of them.
Yeah, absolutely.
It doesn't matter. I'll put it in cross country terms. You know what? Yeah, you finished 65th today, but you turned in a good time for you. Let's party.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely.
Right?
Finish the race.
Yeah.
Finish the race. I just want to say on my final word, I thank everybody for reaching out, participating in the program. I can't express enough for everybody that sends us messages and reaches out and stops us and tells us how much they really appreciate and enjoy the program, to keep doing what we're doing. And like I said, it sometimes it changes from personality to personality on who people like the most and want to weigh in to listen to. But
and I know that you hate me politically. It's fine.
You'd be surprised how many people like the fact that you're on the program, Chad, and that you have the perspective that you have, because that gives them a voice that otherwise maybe they wouldn't have. So, but my final word is a saying, and I'm gonna say this, quote this as anonymous, because it is kind of a paraphrase from somebody, but the message is still true. Remember this, everybody. Mercy to the cruel is cruelty to the innocent. Mercy to the cruel is cruelty to the innocent. Have a good week, everybody.